Welcome to What's Going On, the weekly podcast and videocast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of What's Going On. I'm Pastor Katie here at First United Methodist, and I'm glad you could join me for this episode. I want to talk really briefly about things we've got going on, opportunities for you in the life of the church, and then I'm going to take an opportunity to talk a little bit about our United Methodist connectional system and how that works with our special giving Sundays, since we have one coming up this Sunday, the first of the year. And I thought it might be a good opportunity to explain a little bit more about what that is, how that all works, and, why that is part of our United Methodist system. But before I dive into really fun things like that, I just want to give you a heads up on things that are going on in the life of the church. Tonight is Women's Night Out here at the church at 6:30. We're doing a game night. Bring snacks if you'd like, at any board games that you particularly enjoy playing. If you don't have any, that's fine. I probably have enough board games to supply a lot of people. But it's just a time of fellowship and fun and friendly competition. So that is happening tonight. This Sunday, don't forget, Disciple Bible Study has just kicked off, but you are still invited to come and join us. This Sunday, we're going to be discussing the Gospel of Matthew. And so if you want to jump in on that, even if you don't get it all done, that's okay. We still would love to have you come. That is Sunday mornings at 8. We do provide childcare for that. This Sunday, we also are going to be kicking off a new sermon series. I say new in that we're starting it this Sunday, but it is not a new series itself. It's actually one that's been around for a while. I kind of like to go back every once in a while, and there's certain ones that just sort of stand out and stand the test of time, and I think this is one of them, and it's called The Renegade Gospel by Mike Slaughter. I've never done it as a sermon series. I've done it as a class in the past, not here, so it might be somewhat familiar to you. You might recognize a little bit of it, and that's okay. I do believe, just as we go through scripture, even if we've heard something before, we've maybe never heard it in that way before, or who we are now changes how we hear things. And so I'm excited for this series, but that's starting this Sunday. After worship, we will have new members class. And so again, if you are interested in joining the church, you can jump in on that and participate in learning a little bit more about our church, in particular, the United Methodist Church, what we believe and what it means to join the church. This coming Wednesday, the 22nd, I believe, Youth Bells will be kicking off, and that's for youth ages 3rd grade and up, middle school through high school. Jill Wilson is going to be taking that on, and so it's from 5 to 5:30 in the bell room. If you can get there a little bit before 5 to kind of get set up and be ready to go. That's kicking off, and we're really excited about that. We've missed having Youth Bells, and so we'll be glad to bring that back. Also on the 20th, so a little bit before that, this coming Monday night is Pastor Book Club, and we're going to be discussing the book Help Thanks Wow by Anne Lamott. I've already been hearing good things of people who've been reading it. Yesterday, I read about half the book in one sitting. It's a very quick read. I think it's very accessible. She's coming from a different perspective and a different life experience than what I have. But I find that those are the kinds of books that really make us think and challenge us and help us grow. And so that'll be here at the church Monday night at 7 p.m. We also have our Tuesday lunch study just kicked off, the Difficult Words of Jesus video series. That is each week is its own, it's not going to build on. So if you miss a week, that's totally fine. Last week, we talked about the passage where Jesus tells the rich young ruler to sell all he has and follow him. And we talked about, how do we discern if that is a calling for us in particular, and where is the line for what we need for possessions and how to discern if our pursuit of stuff, our pursuit of wealth, hinders our relationship with God. So it was a really good discussion. This coming week, we're going to be talking about a passage where Jesus it has to do with uh, our relationship with our family. Like, where's our priority? Jesus or our family? Um, And so, again, difficult words of Jesus, but equals really good conversation. And I'm going to argue in the sermon this coming week that we need to be reading and doing these kinds of things, like Disciple, like this study, so that we are encountering who Jesus really was and not who we assume Jesus is. And so tackling these really difficult passages helps us to see Jesus maybe a little bit more as he was and not the picture of Jesus that we have in our mind. So I'm looking forward to that and invite you to be part of any of those opportunities as well. All right, so let's dive in a little bit. So this coming Sunday is also the first of our 6 special giving Sundays in the United Methodist Church. If you've been a United Methodist, you are probably familiar with these special Sundays. They're they happen throughout the year. And this one in January, which always happens right before Martin Luther King Junior Day on the 20th, so we're doing it on the 19th, is called Human Relations Sunday. And so I want to talk a little bit about this one in particular, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the others and about how giving works in the United Methodist Church. And bonus content, we'll be talking about Encore, which is one of the ones, and the ways that you can support disaster relief through Encore, such as the wildfires in California. So, Human Relations Sunday is a special Sunday across our denomination focused on fostering better relationships and supporting community and youth outreach. So on the Sunday before Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, we celebrate and take up a special offering to help bring his vision of a beloved community to life. So if you choose to give to Human Relations Sunday, those gifts support programs like community developers, United Methodist Voluntary Services, and youth offender rehabilitation programs. And so it's really about the work that we do as a church to support things happening in our communities and especially around youth. And so John Wesley believed that in social holiness, I'm very particularly talking social holiness as opposed to social justice, which can have some baggage in our language today, the way people perceive social justice. But John Wesley really believed in social holiness, and what he meant by that is that Christians, as our mission statement says for all United Methodists, to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. And so that our faith isn't just about us and our personal life, but that our faith has an impact on the world around us. And so John Wesley believed in Christians being active in social matters of the day and trying to bring about our world to make it reflect more God's kingdom. And so that's why you have early Methodists who are in the prisons, who are activating is not the right advocating, that's the word I'm looking for reform, who are establishing schools, who are establishing hospitals, who are advocating for things like no child labor and things, like they're active in what is happening in the world because their faith is demanding that. And so these things like Human Relations Sunday and that giving, it falls in line with that heritage that we have of how does our faith impact the world around us? Because our faith isn't just a personal thing. It's not just what I believe so that when I die, I go somewhere specific, but what I believe and follow in Christ that helps me to make this world a better place, to make, heaven come to earth, the kingdom of God be made manifest here and now, through God working in the lives of Christians, to be the hands and feet of Jesus. So that's a little bit. So there will be an opportunity to give not only your regular tithes and offerings to the church, and again, we want to say an incredible thank you for the ways in which all of you have been so generous to our church. But then also on top of that, an extra giving as well. Um, I just want to pause because that reminded me I wanted to share. I think it'll be on, we have slides on the screen, but I do want to share a little bit more. We talked about, or I made the announcement that for 2024, the the leadership team, when approving a budget for the year 2024, projected that we would have a shortfall of over $50,000. And on top of that, they knew that we had to replace the roof over the education wing, which is a pretty daunting thing to realize. We might not have enough money to meet our budget, and then we have another 100,000 plus dollars that we have to raise for this roof. But they stepped out in faith and made those commitments and made those decisions, uh, having faith that God would provide. As you know, because I won't shut up about it, we did raise the money for the roof in less time than we anticipated, which was awesome. But then there was anxiety that because people had given above and beyond for the roof, that they wouldn't, that we would probably have that $50,000 gap when we ended 2024. And the reality is we did not. We ended 2024. We did not quite make it out of the red. I will say that. However, it was less than $5,000 difference. And we do have, again, money stashed away, and a $5,000 gap is much more manageable than a $50,000 gap. And so I just want to again lift up that, which means that the people of this church were so incredibly generous this last year, and I'm so grateful. Like that's a God thing. God was moving, and it tells me that people are invested. They see God at work here, and I'm so grateful, so grateful. And it's also a testament to our staff and to our leadership. Part of the reason that the balance came out that way is because they've been very frugal and very responsible with the budgets that they have, and being faithful in what we're using our money for. That if you give, that you can trust that we are not spending it frivolously. I don't know why I keep choosing words that are hard for me to say. I should probably stop doing that. But the other announcement around giving that I wanted to share is our Christmas Eve mission offering. So if you remember, every year for Christmas Eve, we do a mission giving. We take an offering for those services, but 100% of that offering will go to a mission. And this year we chose Sleep in Heavenly Peace, which is an organization that provides bedding for children who do not have one, who are sleeping on the floor, who are sleeping sharing beds with their parents, their siblings, sleeping on couches. So their mission is that no child sleeps on the floor. The Yankton Optimist Club has kind of taken on this role, and we have members that are strategically involved in Sleep in Heavenly Peace in our church. And so we took up an offering to support that work and to support that mission, which I think falls in line with who we are as United Methodists. And for Christmas Eve, we gave a total of $2,452.81. So good job, everybody. I think that's pretty amazing. And I know that will go a long way to helping continue that work here in Yankton. And it's surprising just how much um, how many beds that they've provided so far, how many kids there are, even in our own town, that do not have their own place to sleep. And then the other one, the next, not even a week later, we asked you, we had a bucket Sunday. Our practice in our church is every fifth Sunday, we do a mission offering. If there's a fifth Sunday in a month, that happens about 4 times a year. And this one was the end of December. And so we decided to use the mission offering toward our Good Samaritan Fund. So we have a fund within the church that goes toward emergent needs, both for church members and also for people who are coming for assistance. So some of that looks like a Hy-Vee gift card for gas or food. Once in a great while, we might do a hotel room. Utility assistance, rent assistance, things like that. We do not see ourselves as like a first place for someone to go. If someone's coming to us with that type of need, typically we want to see that they have exhausted the resources that are already available in Yankton that are doing that work. Places like the Yankton Contact Center, like Rocks, like United Way, like things like that. But we do know that there are gaps, even for the amount of help that can be found here. There are still times where someone cannot get that need met. That is a legitimate need, and then that's what we're here for. And so, you gave $1,549.27 to the Good Samaritan Fund, right after you gave over 2,000, not even a week prior. So again, thank you. That kind of generosity is what allows us to be a light to our community, to again help that social holiness, right? To raise up our communities, to meet needs that are there, to meet them in the name of Christ and in the love and grace of Christ. And so that's kind of local giving and what that looks like. But again, we are United Methodist, we are connectional, and we also do this on a global scale. So going back to our six giving Sundays. So we talked about Human Relations Sunday, which is the first one in January. In March is kind of a big one in my mind. It is the Core Sunday. I think it used to be called One Great Hour of Sharing. At least that's what I knew it as. But you have probably heard me talk about UMCOR, which is the United Methodist Committee on Relief. Anytime there is a natural disaster, you're always going to see things like you can give through the Red Cross and you can give through, these different organizations. But what you don't necessarily realize is that whenever you give through something like the Red Cross, which they're doing great work, but the way that they pay for all of the administrative costs to make that function is by taking a percentage of what you are giving, so that not all of what you give goes directly to where you think it's going to go, that there is a chunk that comes off to do the administrative costs. Now, in the United Methodist Committee on Relief, when you give directly to a cause, and so let me pull up. All right. So I have pulled up the United Methodist Committee on Relief's website here. Again, we shorten it to call UMCOR. Whenever you give to UMCOR, 100% of what you give will go directly to whatever area that you are choosing to give toward. So the wildfires in California. So for many of you, I know that this has been something that you've been watching with great interest and are interested in how you can give and support. So you can give directly on their website here. You can give through the church toward this, and then 100% of what you give toward the wildfires in California will go directly there. And the reason that that is again because of the offering that takes place in March, because that offering covers all the administrative costs. So we as United Methodists, we take a special set apart offering to say, we're going to cover the costs of the people who are organizing, the people who are, you know, uh, being the leadership, the people who are coordinating the supplies, all of that in that offering, so that anytime anybody gives directly to a cause, we don't have to take a percentage off, that we've already covered that cost. And then everything that's being given can go directly to where people expect it to go. Um, so I think that's pretty cool. So the March Special Giving Sunday, that is what that does, UMCOR Sunday. It allows UMCOR to use 100% of all funds given to humanitarian response and recovery efforts directly to the communities in need. So that's March 30th, if you want to get that on your calendar. May 4th is our Native American Ministry Sunday. And that supports the work of Native American ministries in annual conferences throughout the United States. Uh, that also affects our conference because every conference has connected to it. I think pretty much every conference has Native American focused ministries. But also a big part of that is raising up Indigenous people to lead in those communities. Instead of sending, like me to go to uh, White Swan or to go to Tree of Life, it is raising up people within those communities to have those opportunities to make a difference, to share the gospel, to grow again God's kingdom in those places. And so that's what that offering goes toward, which I think is really great. In October, we have our World Communion Sunday. And that one provides scholarships and leadership development opportunities for international students and United States racial ethnic students who are pursuing advanced degrees. Because again, the United Methodist Church is a global church. Um, and the reality is a lot of the money in the United Methodist Church is here. And so we remember on World Communion Sunday when every church in the world takes communion and we are bonded together in that, about our opportunities to support what the church is doing in other places. And then we have one of my favorites is United Methodist Student Sunday, and that provides scholarships for students going to seminary, because again, everything costs money. And I am someone who you are benefiting people like me and the next generation of leaders for the church. And I think that's important work to do. So we have those special giving Sundays, but something else that's kind of interesting, and maybe you're like, this is the least interesting thing, Katie, you've ever talked about. I don't know. Um, to talk a little bit about our connectional giving. So you might have heard the word apportionment be used around here. And basically in the United Methodist Church, we share the cost of ministry together. And so you have the local church, and every local church then pays an apportionment to their annual conference. We are part of the Dakota's annual conference, and so we pay part of what we take in, we send on to the annual conference. And then that helps cover the cost of the staff for the annual conference, ministries that we share together. It also will help like with smaller churches that maybe can't afford some things, allows them to stay open in places where there might not be another church in that community. And so again, it's sharing that ministry together. Annual conferences also then pay a percentage of what they take in from the local churches higher up to our general church. And then that is covering the shared ministry that we have on that level, including things again like UMCOR. So I want to share a little bit of some of the things that our apportionments, our connectional giving covers. And so there are certain things that when we pay our apportionments, a small percentage of it will cover these types of costs. The first is our World Service Fund, which provides basic financial support to general agencies to maintain the common vision, mission, and ministry of the United Methodist Church. The general agencies produce essential services and ministries beyond the scope of local congregations and annual conferences. The second is the Africa University Fund. So we have a United Methodist University in Africa. I actually had a seminary friend who that's where he went to university. Supports the general operating expenses of Africa University located in Zimbabwe, including faculty and staff salaries and vital infrastructure. Additional donations through the World Service Special Gifts support scholarships. The Black College Fund, it supports 11 historically Black colleges and universities, the largest number of Black colleges and universities receiving funding from any church body in the United States. It also goes to our Episcopal Fund, which funds our bishops' salaries, office and travel expenses, pension and health benefit coverage. Bishops are elected to serve the churches and conferences, and their work is vital to all of us. The next one is our General Administration Fund. Funds the administrative functions of General Conference, as well as the Connectional Table, our Judicial Council, pension and salary aid. Basically, again, just all the stuff that we share together that you may never think about, but actually supports all of us. We also have a portion of it go to Interdenominational Cooperation Fund, which enables United Methodists to participate in ecumenical and interreligious organizations advocating for unity among the worldwide Christian church. Here's a little fun side story with that. When I went to Rome in seminary, I got to meet with the Vatican representative to the World Methodist Council. Did you know that there was such a thing as the World Methodist Council? There are many types of Methodists around the world, and they gather together and they participate in ecumenical talks with all kinds of different denominations because, again, our hope is always to be one, that we are united, that there's more that unites us than divides us. And so I got to meet with the Vatican representative who meets with that group. And that group also, that Vatican representative also meets with the Anglican Church because we are very similar to each other. But it's that kind of work that we're always trying, we don't want more denominations in this world, and we want less, actually. And then our Ministerial Education Fund, which helps to support people going to seminary, the leadership of the church. Again, I find that very important. Actually, part of my role in the conference as the chair of the Board of Ordained Ministry is that I get to help distribute funds from the Ministerial Education Fund to our seminary students, which is a pretty fun thing to do. I love being able to support our upcoming leadership and to bless them in that way. So that gives you a little bit of information on kind of how our funding works. So not every dollar that you give in the offering plate on a Sunday morning stays here in Yankton. It actually travels all over the world. The majority of it stays right here. I think it's like 13.5% or something is our apportionment. It used to be a big old formula. Now it is 13.5% of what we take in that's not designated. Like if we didn't have to pay 13.5% of what we raised for the roof to go to apportionments because that was specifically for the roof. But anything that goes to our general funding, then that, I mean, and it really does make a difference. It allows churches that are small, like I said, to support them, to keep them open. And I think that's really important, especially when we are in rural areas, to continue to have presence in these places, because churches are community for people, and that's really important. And so again, some of what we give helps to make ministry in other places possible. And I think that's really cool. And it's one of the reasons I like being United Methodist. So I don't know. I feel like I've been on a polity kick lately, but that gives you a little insight. If you have questions about any of that, please let me know. Again, kind of that general church stuff I don't have any control over, so please understand that as well. But again, I do believe in the shared ministry that we do, and we are capable of so much when we do it together. And so I am grateful to be United Methodist. I'm grateful to serve such a generous church. And I'm grateful for the ways in which we can see beyond ourselves and help to impact not only our community, but also our country and our world. And so with that, I hope to see you this Sunday, this Sunday for worship. And until next time, God bless. Thank you for joining us for this episode of What's Going On, a video and audio podcast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. We'd love to have you join us for worship on Sundays at 10 a.m., either in person or via our live stream, which can be found at our website, www.firstumcyankton.org, or by searching First UMC Yankton on YouTube.